Welcome to the Ghost Geeks. I'm Chad, and today we bring you the second part in our three-part series on geophones. And now, for the deep dive. In the last video, we talked about the basics of how a geophone works using a coil suspended in an electromagnetic field to detect the slightest vibrations, and a few scenarios of why using a geophone could help your investigations. Today, we are going to look deeper at the components of a geophone, look at other devices that use the same technology, and discuss a few more applications to our investigations. But before we go any further, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our videos on these upcoming series. The typical geophone is a relatively simple sensor. It consists of a large magnet mounted inside of a cylinder case that's wrapped in a coil and then balanced in suspension to an external casing like we see here. This allows the cylindrical coil to move independently of the magnetic core. Who remembers what happens when you pass a magnet through a coil? If you said it produces a voltage, then give yourself a high five because that is correct. The sensor itself is simple, but the construction of these sensors is delicate, and they can be quite expensive. But there are alternatives to the standard type geophones, and you probably have a device or two on you right now with these sensors in them. They're called accelerometers. Accelerometers work on a similar yet different principle. In the geophone, vibrations are detected by the coil moving around the magnetic core. In the accelerometer, specifically piezoelectric accelerometers, a sensing crystal called a piezoelectric crystal and an object with mass are responsible for creating the voltage needed to detect the vibrations. When the sensor experiences an acceleration, then the mass portion of the sensor exerts a force on the crystal, and it converts that force to an electrical signal. The real benefit to this type of sensor is its size. These sensors can be produced on a nanoscale and can reside in things like cell phones, watches, and other small electrical items. Piezoelectric sensors work in one plane, so many devices use a tri-axis system to detect movements in 3D space. You know, the X, the Y, and the Z axis. This is how your cell phone can detect its orientation and how many of the apps you use on your phone can react to your movements to steer or fly or move. In fact, rotate your phone. When it changes orientation from either portrait to landscape, it's because the accelerometers in your phone relayed the movement and orientation to the processor. The future of paranormal devices could really stand to implement more of these sensors, which we are doing, to create things that not only know when they are being touched, but can map from where the touch is coming from, the direction of the force, and the total movement of the interaction. This level of data in our devices can really open up the understanding behind the level of energy required to perform such interactions and help us better understand how the transfer of energy from environment to paranormal interaction occurs. So how can you use geophone devices in your investigations? Well, the easiest way to add these devices to your gearbox is to use them whenever you get audio phenomena that could possibly be interactions with physical objects. For example, when you hear footsteps, sounds of things being touched on tables, door slams or creaking. You can even put them on musical equipment to know if the sound is actually being generated by the instrument versus just the sound in the air. Another way to use these devices is in a series. Using multiple devices can help show a relative location of a phenomena. The signal output between two or more devices can help you triangulate where the phenomenon occurred. For example, if device 1 redlines, but device 2 is weak, then the activity happened closer to the first device. Add a third device, and now you are documenting a much larger space with more details on location. There are numerous other ways to use these devices in our investigations. Triangulation is simply one of them. Now, think about all the different ways that you think you could use these devices in your investigation and leave one of those in the comments below. In our next video, we're going to get really down and dirty with the geek dive over geophones. Until next time, I'm Chad with the Ghost Geeks, and remember, talk nerdy to me.